Hello and welcome to West Country Wanderings. Welcome to another one of my monthly vlogs for the month of July 2024. Here on a beautiful summer's morning. Well, where's here? Well, I'm in the county of Wiltshire. Not been into Wiltshire for a little while now. In fact, we're in the heart of the North Wessex Down here. I'm on the edge of the village of East Kennet. Kennet as in, yes, you've guessed it, Kennet and Avon Canal, actually near the river. This beautiful village here, which only has 84 villagers that are in it. There was once a church here built in 1263, which was later demolished, and there is a newer one which was built in 1884. Perhaps we'll have time to have a look at that later in the vlog today. I'm close to the very famous village of Avebury though, and it's to Avebury that we'll be walking today along this track, finding some other prehistoric remains as we go. So it's going to be quite interesting, I think. Make our way to Avebury as well. As I do so, I'll be telling you about the very best of what's been happening on West Country Wanderings for the month of July and reading out the very best of your comments too. In fact, it's been a very busy month on the channel this month. There's been some 14 videos in total, loads and loads of comments from you, my wonderful viewers here on the channel. So I hope you can join me again here on West Country Wanderings for the monthly vlog. In the wider region of the West Country that I cover here on West Country Wanderings, it takes in the counties of Herefordshire and Worcestershire, though officially, of course, they're in the official region of the West Midlands, not the metropolitan county of the West Midlands. And one of the places in those two counties I really like is the Seven-side town of Bley. And recently they had a carnival there, and I decided to go up there to film, well, a couple of things in that area. In fact, it was last month's vlog as well. And that evening, after I'd filmed the monthly vlog, they were having a fireworks display, and that took place over the River Severn. It was quite a spectacular feast for the eyes. I have to say, it's probably not one of the most popular videos that I've ever done, and I guess fireworks aren't really the sort of thing that I normally do here on the channel. But I had a couple of interesting comments on that. I had a great comment from Faith. What a lovely peaceful start in beautiful Bewdley. I did turn the sound down quite a bit for the fireworks, but they really were certainly quite a spectacle. Yes, thank you very much, Faith. They certainly were. It was quite a thing seeing the reflections of the coloured lights popping up into the sky, reflected into the waters of Sabrina. Thanks. The following day, in fact, was Bewdley Carnival. In fact, I follow a couple of Bewdley Facebook groups, and they had a fantastic day the following day. It was a really well-supported event. I think those sort of carnivals, they are getting less and less, and it's really good. If you have one locally to where you live, whether it's in the West Country or further afield, it's always well worth supporting them. Unfortunately, I had something else planned for the Saturday, so I wasn't able to stick around for that event itself, but maybe we'll cover it at a future date here on West Country Wanderings. Well, making my way round to West Kennet Longbar. The only trouble with that is you can see it in the field on the OS map, but it doesn't show any rights of way getting to it, even though it's looked after and maintained by English Heritage. Anyway, the nearest right of way I can see to it is following along this track, which is a right of way and public footpath. So we're going to go along here and see where it takes us. And it looks like that our Longbar is off to the left here through this cornfield on the top. Just see it on the left of the screen there in the middle. I think there's a little swathe of green in the middle of that wheat field. Hopefully that's a track that'll take us up to it. So yes, that's that green bit you could see in the distance. We've now got to the base of it, and the top of this incline should be our Longbar. I'll tell you about it when we get there. So this is West Kennet Longbar, close to the village of Avebury, probably about a mile and a half south. And as I say, we'll make our way over there, but not before stopping at the next point of interest, which is just over to my right, which I'll show you in a minute. It is a chambered longbar. It's actually very long, longest barrow I've ever seen. I think it's longer than the one at Bella Snap, which we covered when I was doing the Cotswold Way there. And it's part of the Severn Cotswold group. You're probably thinking that's a bit strange, because here we are in the heart of the North Wessex Downs, Wessex AONB, not the Cotswold AONB. Well, that's because The rocks that were used here to construct this long barrow were moved from the Cotswolds. Ah, it's amazing, isn't it? So they're brought here, so it's not local pieces of chalk because they're not strong enough to hold a weight of a barrow like this one. So it's got chambers inside. Let's see if I've got a diagram to show you now. And the front of it's down there, so you're looking at the rear of it from this angle. And lots of things have happened because they found human remains inside it, exact purpose unknown, so possibly, potentially a burial ground, perhaps to do ceremonial or religious reasons, but we don't really know. Again, it's constructed around 3700 BC or thereabouts. And I think it was around about 400 AD, some coins were buried off to this side of the long barrow in the Romano-British period, and they were discovered in the 19th century. A hoard of Roman coins there for reasons unknown, and to say reasons unknown for construction of this wonderful long barrow here at West Kennet. Well, I can honestly say that's one of the very best long barrows I've ever been inside. Some of them are very restricted, they're very tight and narrow. Here they've actually fitted two little light portals. They've replaced a couple of the top dolmens with slabs of concrete, perhaps they're worn away just a little bit, and drilled holes in them, put glass in there, so it allows just a little bit of light to percolate inside the long barrow, so you can get round it and see it, well, as you saw, film it as well without the aid of additional lighting or torch. And all those chambers are very, very clearly marked off. You can see where they all are. In fact, on the interpretive board here, it does tell you exactly where the remains were found and what genders and what ages they were in each of those chambers here at West Kennet Long Barrow. An amazing place, and it's just, well, the age of it being Neolithic, going back 3,500 years BC, it just blows your mind, the concept of it and how these limestone rocks were brought to here, to North Wessex, all the way from the Cotswolds. Amazing. We had two returns to the Seven Way during the course of the month of July. The first was 7 Way 24, which took us back to the dock at Sharpness alongside good old Sabrina. And from there, I headed down to Aubrey-on-Severn. That was a long, hot day because being no public transport in that area, it meant I needed to return back to my car. It was wonderful as well because it was interesting because of the power station. There are two nuclear power stations, both now decommissioned and, well, still being in process of being run down. But it was good to see them and to learn a little bit about them during the course of doing the editing on that video as well, and to make good progress with the 7 Way as well. I had a couple of great comments on that video. A top comment on that video actually goes to a gentleman called Richard Wakely. Thank you very much, Richard, for your comment, because he answered a couple of points, or a few actually, that I raised in the course of the video. And I'll read it to you because I think it's really, really interesting. The first one is that the white structures with an X, you probably remember that from the video there, were navigational aids, which I kind of thought that they would be, but Richard confirms it has better knowledge to do with boating and shipping and that sort of thing than far more than I do. The short one is a front range marker, and the tall one is a rear range marker for downward ships in the stretch just upstream. So yes, I think they have to get them in line, don't they, so they get the right course going down the River Severn, so they don't run aground on the various mud banks there. The cars we saw in that video, there was piles and piles of cars, and I thought that they'd actually arrived at Sharpness via ships. Well, that wasn't the case. Actually, they arrived there by lorry, but they've come imported to this country via Royal Portbury Dock. And the two inbound ships that I showed in that video are small general cargo ships called mini bulkers, carrying around 3,000 to 4,000 tonnes of cargo. Most likely cement from Santander in Spain, or possibly potash from Antwerp or the Baltic countries. That's brilliant. Thanks very much for that, Richard, and for your general insight to all things shipping, of which I have very limited knowledge. Great comment. Thanks very much. Now, before I mention the next video for the month of July, just wanted to give you a little bit of feedback about your feedback. Last month I asked you for the feedback regarding the advertising, changing the format. Basically, if you didn't watch last month's vlog, or you hadn't watched any of my videos recently, what I've done is I've now phased the ad break. So I've timed them myself, rather than having YouTube put random videos all over the place during my videos, and including me breaking into a sentence, mid-sentence. I've stopped that now, so I go into a fade. It'll say end of part 1, end of part 2, etc., that sort of thing, and I'll tell YouTube where I want the adverts put, and to reduce the overall number of adverts. That was the main point behind it, because I felt there was far too many it was putting in. And I asked for your feedback on that, whether that was a worthwhile exercise or not. And the overwhelming feedback I had from you was that yes, it was. So, as you probably already noticed, I have decided to continue with that. So basically it means if there's a short bite video, there'll only be ads at the start and at the end. So if it's around about 5 to 10 minutes sort of length video, if it's around about 15 minutes, well, there'll be one ad break in that. Up to about 20 to 25, there'll be 2. 30 minutes or more, 3 ad breaks. Then up to 45 minutes, there'll be 4. So that gives you a rough guide of where we are. Incidentally, if you're not aware, you can take out a subscription with YouTube. This is not an advertising. I'm not trying to promote YouTube subscriptions in any way, shape or form, but it's just something worth mentioning. If you do watch a lot of YouTube and other YouTube channels, and you do get annoyed by that, and you watch less and less kind of terrestrial and satellite television, dare I say, then it might be worth considering taking out a YouTube subscription. I think it's around about $11.99, possibly $12.99, and that'll mean, well, several things. It'll mean you can watch them in a bit better quality. They don't compress them so much for memberships. Also, you can download them, so if you want to watch them, say, on a car journey or train journey, coach journey, where there may not be a great signal, you can do that. You can download it to your tablet or laptop or phone. And also it means you can watch them completely without any ad breaks whatsoever. So something considering. If you want to try it, there's a free trial. I think you can do that for 1 month without paying anything whatsoever. So yeah, as I say, I'm not promoting it anyway. It's just to tell you about it, if something that may be of interest to you. It was to my railway series next, and it was a video entitled Let's Explore the World's Oldest Private Miniature Railway, and I did exactly that in the video, travelling not too far away from neighbouring Herefordshire, away from Gloucestershire. Just on the edge of the Malvern Hills there is a little beautiful village called Colwell, which just lies close to the Worcestershire border. And there is a school there that has had a railway running through it in their grounds for best part of 100 years. I think they'll be celebrating their 100th centenary next year. It was set up by a former headmaster, and it's looked after and maintained by the children of the school with some help from the governors and the teachers. It's an incredible thing to see. I had a great comment on that video from Michael Pilling from Poland. Hi Michael, it's always great to hear your comments. If it wasn't for you, I'm sure none of your subscribers would have known anything about this incredible railway. What a find. Children aged between 7 and 13 run the railway themselves. Thanks for this gem. Yes, and I came across that. Thank you very much for that, Michael. I came across it purely by chance, one of those happenstance things. I was looking at doing a possible walk in the Malvern Hills in the future, route planning it out, and I saw just on the edge of the Cotswold there, miniature railway on the OS map, and it led me to discover more and onto that video. Thank you. So I'll be leaving West Kennet Longbarrow shortly, and we'll be making our way over there to Silbury Hill, which lies, well, kind of right next to the A4. Parking in this area, by the way, is very, very limited. This is why I decided to park in the nearby village of East Kennet and walk over here. I think that's perhaps the best option. It probably took me about an hour, but that included a bit of filming to walk here to West Kennet, and it's probably about, well, 20 minutes or less to get over to Silbury Hill direction, and from there we'll then head over to Avebury, the main centre. So see you over there in a bit. Welcome to Silbury Hill. It's an impressive sight, isn't it? It's actually the tallest man-made prehistoric mound in the whole of the world, I do believe, and it's an equivalent size to one of the pyramids in Egypt. Yes, right here in the heart of Wiltshire we have something such extraordinary. It's actually constructed from chalk, but very similarly to like the Longbar we've just seen back there across the other side of the busy A4, the Bath London road. We don't know why. We have no idea why. No. There's lots in this area. In the Avebury area there's about 30 such prehistoric sites, whether they be stone circles, long barrows or mounds like this one here at Silbury. But whatever it is, it's an extraordinary site. You can see a path going up to the top there, but you're not allowed to walk up it. It is in the care of English Heritage, so please don't come and walk over the top of it. But as you can imagine, because of the age of it, it is very vulnerable to wear. So it is a protected monument in that sense, but yeah, just blown away. You can see it in the distance. In fact, I've been seeing it for most of the walk today since I left the village of East Kennet, making my way across the North Wessex Downs here to it, and it's been getting bigger and bigger and bigger until you're left with the impressive sight that you can see behind me now. Now, Silbury Hill was constructed in several stages, a lot newer than the Longbar that we saw. 2,400 to 2,300 years BC, yeah, so give or take a couple of thousand years. It's newer than the Longbar that we saw earlier in the video. The other thing is, about 2007, some archaeologists discovered a Roman villa at the foot of Silbury Hill. I think it was over in that direction there. You can't see anything, there's no interpretive board to tell you where it is, but just something that I read, that yes, there was a Roman villa here, and they very clearly marked out the streets and houses that once existed at the base of Silbury Hill here in Wiltshire. Yes, I think the site of the Roman village was somewhere over in that direction, just to one side of Silbury Hill, but say, I can't be certain. Well, it wouldn't be on the Roman side. I say Roman side, the road side, but of course that is a Roman road, the A4 as well. So it's all happening around here with prehistoric remains and Roman remains as well. It was to my railway series again next, and it was a return to the tramway in South Gloucestershire, having a look at the remains of that former tramway line that served the former coalfields in and around South Gloucestershire, around Culper Heath, and taking that coal down to the River Avon to support the needs of both Bristol and Bath. I had a great comment on that video from Martin Pope. Oh, it was great to hear from you, Martin, who also runs his own YouTube channel. And his comment reads as follows: "The buried cart has been there for as long as I can remember. I've looked in the past where the bricked up tunnel would have come out on the other side of the Midland Railway, but I can't find it. My neighbour remembers playing inside the tunnel when she was young." Siston is pronounced Syston. Now, I didn't know that, so thanks for that, Martin. Sometimes I do get pronunciations wrong. They aren't always obvious, and unless you live locally to that village or town, it can be sometimes difficult trying to find out what it is. And you can't always rely on the internet. If you go to Google and ask what the pronunciation is, often you'll get it wrong as well. So I rely on you watching the videos to correct me when I have got it wrong. Sometimes it is inevitable, and there's just nothing you can do about it, because although I do know the West Country fairly well, of course I don't know everywhere. It's a huge region, and there's lots of little pockets where it's really difficult to get the pronunciation right. So I really do appreciate that, Martin, thank you. So it is Syston, and across Syston Common is a lovely old building next to the tramway, which I do hope to check that out next time, which is what I'm coming on to next, talk about what the videos will be coming up. So that'll be one of them, the Dramway Part 3. I'll also be doing the final episode of the 7 Way. I haven't mentioned the penultimate one, but I'll come on to that shortly. So that'll be happening too. I'm hoping to get down onto the Dorset coast. I have been hoping to do that a little bit before, but it just didn't work out that way. And we'll be looking at one of the preserved steam railway lines that happen to lie in the West Country Wanderings region. Now, we're going to continue on over to the village of Avebury. So we're making our way along this footpath, which just follows little copse over there towards the village of Avebury. That in there is the River Kennet. But I'm sad to report that at the moment here, at least near the village, it's completely dried up. Now at the base of that Longbar there are some springs. And when I filmed my monthly vlog in Marlborough, I think it was about a year or two ago now, there was a good flow on the River Kennet there. It was quite wide. And you've got some springs between here and Marlborough, which is to say about 4 miles to the east of where I currently am. But yeah, because it's a chalk stream and because sometimes the land users, the farmers take water out of it as well, sadly there isn't enough flow and it's completely dried up at this point. Now often on the channel I like to film 2 videos in the same location if I can, which cuts down on travel costs and saves time as well in terms of journeys, that sort of thing. As was the case the other day when I was up in North Wiltshire filming on the Staffordshire and Worcestershire Canal. More about which in a bit. Before I did that though, I nipped over to the town of Kidderminster and had a look at the 1940s weekend at the Severn Valley Railway. It's always a wonderful place to go and visit. I was only there for a couple of hours or so, well probably not even a couple of hours, and had a look at that and I took some photographs there and I covered some kind of jazzy music, that sort of thing. It was all great fun. And I had a great comment on that from Alice Goss, who runs a couple of YouTube channels, including one that has a look at the entirety of Europe and what you can do, trips going to cities in Europe. I'll include a link to her video, or channel should I say, in the description of today's video. Alice Goss writes, she enjoyed the video and said that these 1940s weekends are getting increasingly popular. In fact, there was one, I think, in a nearby town the following weekend as well, not related to a heritage railway. She goes on to comment that next year will be a big one for the 1940s weekends. Why? Well, next year is 2025 and it'll be 80 years since the end of the Second World War, which of course landed right in the middle of the 1940s decade. Thanks very much for that comment, Alice, and have a look at her channel as well. And if you watched that video, particularly if you commented on it as well, it was a great fun and video to make and I really enjoyed it, particularly that Sherman tank there whizzing around the front of Kidderminster railway station. Well, welcome to Avebury. Let's say I've arrived here by foot from East Kennet village, which is just over 2.5 miles, maybe a little bit more on the divertory walk they did. You can arrive here by car. It costs £7 a day to park here all day. I think it's cheaper after 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And if you're a National Trust member, it is free. So that's great. You've got good facilities here though, so you've got the usual toilets. There is a henge shop, so it's like a gift shop. They sell sweets and ice creams. There's also a community local shop which is supported by the National Trust, which is like a community shop for the villagers that live here, the 400 odd people that live in the village, some 200 odd or so houses that are in and around Avebury. So it's a nice community. Obviously it does get busy, particularly at weekends. So I'm here during the week, so Monday today, but obviously the children have broken off. So there's a fair amount of people here, but not uncomfortably so. So what is Avebury? Well, you have a large stone circle. It's the largest one in Great Britain, and it has a ditch that surrounds it. So that's going around the outside of the entirety of the village. And you have a couple of smaller stone circles, of which this is one of them here. Now you'll probably notice these, I don't know if that's just coming shot there or not, but these are markers to indicate where the stones once stood. Yes, so yeah, there are a number of them missing. But how old is Avebury stone circles? Now Avebury is the oldest and biggest megalithic stone circle in the entirety of the world. So we've got some extremes here. We're breaking the Guinness Book of Records here on the monthly vlog. We had that tallest man-made hill, didn't we? Ancient hill there at Silbury. And we have the stone circles here at Avebury. They're younger than the Longbar where we started our monthly vlog though, because they were constructed over a period probably of a couple of 100 years around about 2,500 years BC. So that gives you an indication of the age of them. We don't know, like the other things I've showed you on the monthly vlog today, yes, you've guessed it, why they were built. Again, it could be a religious symbolisation. It could have been a meeting place where people gathered for dances. But this is all conjecture. We really don't know, because we have no record of how people lived in those ancient civilizations. We have no idea what was indeed important to them, apart from the very basics of survival, like food, heat, water, clothing. Beyond that, we have no record, so we don't know what was important to them. So therefore, we have no idea why these stone circles were built here at Avebury, but they're still a magnificent sight. Now, the gift shop in the village is called the Hen Shop. And nearby, of course, also here in Wiltshire, is the very, very famous Stonehenge, close to the A303, the main road between London, Devon and Cornwall. But what exactly is a henge? Is it a stone circle? Well, it's not actually. It refers to the ditch. So you have this ditch, a large ditch, which goes all the way round like an outer rampart, like you would have at a castle, in effect, which obviously they came much later in these stone circles, which surrounds the outer circle, and it's that bank that is called the henge. So there we go. I didn't know that until today either, so it's good to see that. There was also a couple of very famous people that came here to study Avebury and to learn more about it. I'll tell you about those in a minute. Now, I've just come under the tree, away from the parkland here that surrounds Avebury. They've got sheep grazing in the parkland here, and this behind me, though it'll probably be burnt out on the screen because I'm standing in the shade at the moment, so it needs to expose more, so I'm not looking dark. But that there is the henge again, so the stones are just over that side on there. There were two people that were significant here at Avebury. One of them was called John Aubrey, and he was around in the 17th century, and he came here to Wiltshire, and he was the first person kind of to draw and to map and to plan this place and to give it some kind of perspective, because prior to then people hadn't really understood what this place was about. Well, we still don't really in some respects. Later on, the 18th century, another gentleman called William Stukely, who we have come across here before on West Country Wanderings, planned it and looked at it in more depth further. Now, when I walked in from the car park end, I was crossing over the road, I was coming up there from East Kennet, there was a couple of plaques telling you the fact that some of the things you see Avebury are hidden, or rather you don't see them because they're hidden below the ground. Of course, those large stones, the dolmen that have been moved here, a lot of it remains under the ground, out of sight, and there's also little adits and ditches that you can't see from the ground. It's an amazing place either way. That was the most refreshing cup of tea and sandwich there. I actually have a gluten allergy, so it's good to see that they had gluten-free sandwiches available in the cafe here at Avebury for the National Trust. There is a museum here as well, which you have to pay to go into. I think it's like £6. I'm not sure what it's about. But you can also pay to have a guided tour of the stones, which costs £5. I did notice some buses as well, so there are buses here to the village if you can't drive or wish to not drive. There's certainly a bus from the nearby town of Marlborough, and Marlborough has a direct connection to the town of Swindon, where of course there is a railway station. And I think there are buses from other directions, perhaps Devizes and Calne here as well. But check out the Travelline app that I've mentioned previously. The next video was one in my canal series, and it was exploring the remains of the Chard Canal that ran from just outside of Taunton in Somerset to the town of Chard in Somerset, about 7.5 miles long. Oh boy, was this a challenging video to make. It was a bit frustrating. I found the aqueduct at the beginning, but a lot of the rest was a bit of a struggle, and I had rain against me. Anyway, I had a great comment on that from Paul Whitewick, who quite a few of you will probably know, who runs his own very successful YouTube channel, and he did Chard Canal, I think a while ago now, about 4 or 5 years ago. Thanks for that, for linking. We really did skim this canal in a day. I would like to go back and explore some more of it one day. Cheers for the information, very enjoyable video. You did well to avoid the Lilsdown southern portal. The route down was quite severe. Yes, quite. I've been digging around on the internet. Thanks very much for that, Paul. That's great comment. And yeah, I did link to his original video on that, which he showed some bits which I didn't find in mine. But I will be returning to the Chard Canal again soon. We're having another look at that. Before I mention the next video though, I'd like to mention about my Facebook group. If you're not already a member of my Facebook group, the reason why you may want to join that is free to join. Just hop along to Facebook, type in West Country Wanderings, and there you'll see videos and clips, well, mainly photos of projects that I'm working on, things that are coming up on the channel, and things that aren't actually full videos. If I've gone to a certain place, I'll often take my camera along and share those with you. Like on Saturday, I went to Gloucester shopping, not for a video, but I went there and I found the house where the inventor of the vacuum cleaner once lived. Yes, it was extraordinary tale. He actually designed the Riesenrad wheel, Ferris wheel in Vienna that was used in the film The Third Man. I digress. You'll find all that kind of nonsense and trivia over on my West Country Wanderings Facebook group. You can also, if you're a member of that group, upload your own photographs and video clips of anywhere in the entire West Country Wanderings region. So most welcome to do that. So it's been growing quite steadily. I think we're on about 280 or so members on that, and most welcome to hop over there. Also, if you're a new member to West Country Wanderings and trying to find your way around, if you're not familiar with this, and this tends to happen if you watch my videos mainly on TV through the YouTube app, is that I do have a series of playlists. So I've grouped all of my railways and canal videos in together at the same time. So you can go in there and have a look at those on the website, and then you'll be able to find them, and they're all linked together there. And I think there's 11 of them at the moment, so you'll be able to find those. And if you hip on the channel there, you'll see playlists, and you'll see them all the way down through, and you have a look at those. Anyway, what I'm going to do now is nip back over to the Stone Circle area, and we'll then have a look at some other aspects of the Stone Circle here at Avebury. I was in Wiltshire earlier this month as well for Caution, that video there, and I had a great comment on that video from Donna guy who lives over in Canada. She does some excellent videos on her channel, Donna's Adventures. Caution's a really wonderful place. I caught the bus there from Chippenham railway station and just chilled out there. It was a great atmosphere in that most wonderful of Cotswold towns, which doesn't often get that visited, unlike nearby Laycock. Right back here next to the stones again now, so it's delightful to be back here. Just to wrap up some of the videos that we had here for the rest of the month on West Country Wanderings, we also had a trip up to the Staffordshire and Worcestershire Canal. That was a most wonderful little village called Wolverley, which lies just close to the Staffordshire border in Worcestershire. And it's a very, very scenic canal. It's the first time I've really explored it. I've seen it where it joins up with Sabrine, of course, at Stourport-on-Savern. Had a lovely comment on that from Philip Pankhurst, and I'll read it out to you now. Lovely tribute to the really beautiful canal. You did it proud. I volunteered with the Canals and Rivers Trust at Stourport-on-Savern until recently. And many boats I met were surprised and delighted at just how unspoilt the Staffs and Wharfs is, despite civilization never being very far away. Debdale Lock, Cave and Spillweir are all listed, but the cottage and footbridge are not, despite them all being built by Brindley. Yeah, that seems mad. Great, thanks very much for that comment, Philip. But it just seems odd that they're not listed because of their importance in terms of canal history. It just seems a no-brainer to me that they're not. But I guess that's the way it goes sometimes with projects being listed and not listed. Now, a village that's in South Gloucestershire, but also very, very close to the city of Bristol, is Frenchay, a place I'd never been to before, but it's also close to the Froome Valley. So I decided to get off the train at Bristol Parkway and walk on a circuitous route following the River Froome into the village of Frenchay, and they had a special thing going on there. It was their village fete. In fact, it was their flower show, which happens once a year. It's a really tremendous atmosphere, and I was ecstatic to go around it because it was just wonderful. And normally I really don't relish crowds at all, but it was so good and positive to be there, and the exhibits were tremendous, as you could see from inside of the tent. Had a cracking comment on that from Worcester 71. You're only 5 miles out of the city centre there. It's hard to believe. Thanks so much for sharing. It's the area I was lucky enough to spend the first 14 years of my life in. Now I can show my family in Australia what a bit of it looks like. Oh, that's excellent. Thank you so much for that. And I hope that video was useful in showing your family where you used to grow up in South Gloucestershire. An ongoing project here on West Country Wanderings is looking at both the Cotswold canals and the Wilts and Berks canal. In fact, there'll be a video coming up in the next couple of weeks back on the Wilts and Berks, probably be here in Wiltshire or possibly in Oxfordshire. Anyway, another one landed in my Secrets of the Thames and Severn Canal series, number 5 in that series, where I went over bit further outside of Chalford, Frampton Mansell, that kind of area, looking at the activities of the Gloucestershire County Council around the end of the 19th century and how they had influenced and helped to keep the canal going. And the reason they wanted to do that, of course, was to improve the economy in that part of the world. So it was excellent to be able to see some of the granite lining, concrete lining that they'd done, which is like a 45-degree angle there, what is known as the King's Reach, which is a wonderful part of the Thames and Severn Canal. Fantastic comment on that video from Daryl. 500 videos, congratulations. Yeah, so that video was actually my 500th I've done since I started West Country Wanderings. We take for granted the modern equipment used in concrete work today. What an undertaking it must have been way back in the 1800s. Not for the faint of heart. That's brilliant. Thanks very much. And that's so true. Obviously, we've had problems with it called RAC recently with some of the schools and buildings like libraries that were built in the 1960s. But there, the concrete that was built at the end of the 19th century still standing the test of time and holding water in the canal. Thanks very much, Darryl. We had another return to the Severn Way during the month, and that was Severn Way 25. So the final one will land in the next couple of weeks, or weather being well. Don't want it too hot to do the walk though, because it's a 15-mile one. And some great comments on that. And three ones I want to read out to you. One from a gentleman called David Ludlow, who runs another YouTuber. Hi Paul, excellent walk, such an early start. Looking forward to the next one. Thank you very much for that, David. And Patrick, aka the Solitary Rambler, who's actually been doing videos, I think now for about 7 or 8 years, probably longer. I know he's been filming videos on video and stuff for many, many years. Originally from Chepstow and grew up around Forest of Dean area. I think now he's moved to Derbyshire, but he's recently put up some videos again of the Forest and Dean, and very excellent videos they are too. In fact, Patrick, should I say, is one of the very few YouTubers that actually composes, performs, writes his own music in his videos. It's all his stuff that he's done when you hear the music in his videos, so it's brilliant. Read his comment, I've always been interested in the Severn bridges, particularly the old one, so it was great to see them, how you captured shots of them. Hope you managed to do a video on the Severn Tunnel at some point. Yes, I certainly do hope to do that, Patrick, and it was always great to hear from you. And I'll put a link to Patrick's channel at the end of this, or in the description of today's video. And also a comment from Louise from Southwest Sundays. Wow, what a journey you have been on. I look forward to the final one soon. Thank you very much for that, Louise. And thanks to all of you that have put comments on my Severn Way videos. It's been a tremendous journey, and now it's a little bit emotional actually reaching the end, although the end won't be seeing Sabrina, it'll be seeing the harbour, which we did see, I'll come on to that now, in another video this month, and that was looking at the Bristol Harbour Railway, and that was so enjoyable. I didn't realise that they had the Harbour Festival going on at the same time, so I wanted to capture the steam train coming out of the M Shed, which I managed to do and walk along part of the road where the railway once went out from Temple Meads to the harbour. And that video seems to have gone down really well, and I got a comment from it from David Graham. Wonderful video. I never knew that there was a tunnel under St Mary Redcliffe Churchyard, although I know the area well. So that's surprising. Sometimes you find things that you're close to and you live close to, but you don't actually know them. I've come across this lots of places in Gloucestershire, and I think I know Gloucester fairly well, but you think, I never knew that. It always comes at the time, and that's one of the reasons I do the channel, to share what I discover. And often I'm discovering these things just a couple of weeks before the video goes out, so I'm sharing it with you as I'm learning along as well. So great comment there, David, thanks very much. Another David here, Dave Tyler should I say. What an interesting video. I never knew there was a railway there. There we go, see, another one there. And finally this month I had one over on my Cornwall series on the Liskeard and Carradon Railway. It's part 1, so I want to do a more in-depth discovery of that particular railway there on the edge of Bodmin Moor, coming out of the edge of the town of Liskeard there in southeast Cornwall. It's a fascinating railway, not least because it was the only standard gauge passenger railway to not be connected to the rest of the railway network in the United Kingdom. I know, amazing. That always blows my mind. Great comment on that from David Bellani, who lives over in Spain. Hi David, hope you're okay. Great, always great to hear from you. I think the bridge builders enjoyed building this one. Yes, it was amazing bridge stuck there, which is skewed and a wonderful testament to the art of the brick builder. It is always fascinating to see the skewed ones. It looks in good condition too. Thanks very much if you watched any of my videos during the course of July, and if you've commented them, liked them or shared them as well. Also, thank you if you are new subscribers to the channel here on West Country Wanderings. Hope you enjoy the tour, looking at this part of the North Wessex Down here in the wonderful county of Wiltshire. Till next time, take care of yourselves, all the best. Cheers now, bye bye.